John Lynch went on the radio and gave a really blunt assessment of one of his top players, as the Niners have been doing all year. He said Fred Warner really hasn't been living up to the expectations the organization sets for him and that he sets for himself. And that it happens sometimes when players sign a big contract that there's just a lot on their plate or they're trying to do too much. Or he was a little vague with that, but he basically said that Warner's not playing particularly great. And this is something you've been saying too. So what do you think of Lynch saying this?
It's one of those things where, as a fan, it's one thing when I say it,
right?
Especially about
my reaction,
or you, exactly. It's
just another example of this regime blaming players. Like, what about you, John? How about you?
Right, and GM? I wonder. I would love to go back. I don't want to give Gruden any laurels, but when he played for Gruden, I don't recall Gruden ever calling him out. He didn't have a lot of bad games, Lynch, but back in his playing days, I don't recall his coaches throwing him under the bus this way. And especially as a player, as a defensive captain like he is, I feel like he should have not even gone there. There's no way to word one of my top players is playing poorly. He doesn't look physically strong. He doesn't look like he's following the game plan. He doesn't seem like he's keeping to his assignments. I mean, this is all. What he did was he basically lit a fire under Warner, but that's something that needs to be done in private. Now, I don't feel that Warner is playing well. I have been all over him and Ward all year long. But real quick,
I mean, isn't Lynch doing what Shanahan did, where he's basically saying, like, okay, well, he's not living up to his contract. Well, who gave him the contract? You're saying you invested in the wrong person, right? Right? That's what you're saying, John.
I don't think that's what he's saying. I think what he's saying is, I did my job. You're not doing yours.
That's what he's trying to say. But his job was to not to admitting to us for the past, but to project the future. And again, he's invested in someone that's not getting him the ROI, and he's saying that's Warner's fault. Well, it's also I mean, a lot of people would say maybe we shouldn't give $17 million a year, or $20 million a year, whatever, to a middle linebacker. I mean, that was your leap of faith. Just saying.
The way that Warner played when he was an all-pro, I understand, because he's like a hybrid linebacker defensive back. It's still a lot of money, but it's one of those things where if we did not pay him, we were afraid someone would essentially, that we would lose him eventually, or that we would be facing a holdout or something like that. But definitely, he's not playing up to his, as you said, the return on investments. But I don't like it from another aspect. Again, the leadership. I don't understand what Lynch has to gain by publicly humiliating one of his players in a season which is already humiliating enough for all of these players.
Good point. What does he have to gain?
What he's doing is, there is a thing such as tough love, but that's done in the locker room. That's done in private, in the office, and in meetings. It's not done publicly.
And again, Lynch needs to look in the mirror here. Look at the history of the players he's signed and what they've done. Like, he gave a ton of money to George Kittle. Kittle really hasn't done a lot since then. Fred Warner, he's come back to earth. Who else? Eric Armstead really hasn't lived up to that 1 year he had in 2019. I mean, maybe, and they didn't want to invest in DeForest Buckner. Maybe Lynch is investing in the wrong people. Just saying.
Even in the secondary, even people like Verrett, Tart, Ward, I don't see the point of signing these people and not drafting their replacements, certainly not playing their replacements, and giving them extensions.
Yeah.
Our money is not even on the field right now.
All right, but I want to stick with Warner here. So Lynch shouldn't have said this on the radio. Fair. But we agree with him. That's the thing. We agree with him on Fred Warner. What are you seeing from Warner this year? And first of all, start there. What are you seeing from him?
Every game, it seems like there is something different with him. I think his best mental game was the Green Bay game. The reason I say that is because he was faced with Aaron Rodgers, who is a maestro of orchestrating audibles and things like that. And that's where we got to see the Warner that is so good. The reason he gets paid so much is because he's supposed to be such a tactical leader. Mm-hmm. In the rest of the games this year, I don't see that as much. He looks lost on his assignments. He's trailing the people he's supposed to cover in passing. Physically, he's getting run over. Now, he was never a thumper. He's not a downhill tackler. He's always been kind of a technical tackler.
Yes.
Kind of like the way that Ward was
not a hitter
ago.
Right.
As far as not missing, like, it's not a thump. It's not Navarro Bowman. It's not Patrick Willis. We are very spoiled as San Francisco fans. But at least he would cover his tackles and he would drop the guy immediately. This year, they are running him over. If a running back comes his way, they will drag him 2 yards every single time.
Yeah, that's what it was like his rookie year too.
which is strange because he had, I want to say it was like 21, 23 reps on the 225 on the bench press at the combine. That's pretty good.
Mhm.
That's
Yep.
that's very strong. So for me, I don't understand where that strength went. And it's almost like he's protecting himself because when he gets hit, the difference in his body language that I saw over the last years is when he hits, his shoulders are engaged forward. He's
Right.
going into the tackle. When he hits this year, he's leaning back into the hits.
I see this a lot
And
of
that's
times.
why they drag him 2 yards.
I see this a lot of time with football players, and it's just human nature. Like if you're especially a 3rd-round pick, a 5th-round pick, and you start getting accolades, you'll play with reckless abandon to get that payday because you never thought it was going to come. You were just like a day 2, day 3 guy who could have been in and out of the league real quick, but all of a sudden now you're getting Pro Bowl recognition, All Pro recognition, and if you just sell out your body 2 seasons, you're going to get $30 million, $50 million. And so you do it. And then you get the money. And now you just can't help but look at your body differently. Like, wow, this is the whole corporation here. This is the whole business. I gotta protect this. It's not the same. It's not like I'm going for another payday. It's like I got it. And now I gotta keep, and you just don't play the same. I've seen it so many times. So many times. And I think that's why Belichick doesn't give big extensions to a lot of people. He just doesn't. Yeah,
there's another player who's playing like that, and that's Bosa. I feel like he's going for stats in his games rather than keeping to his lane.
And and that's different to me though, because I feel like Bosa and Debo are just they're on the hunt. They can see the payday right there.
Exactly.
And so what are they going to be like after they get it? I don't know. What's Debo going to be like after he gets it? I don't know. He's got a calf injury right now. Would he be playing through a calf injury if he'd already gotten an $18 million signing bonus this year? Probably not, because all of a sudden you got to start thinking about, man, this is the whole operation here. Can't jeopardize it. Just saying. I don't think he'd be playing right now if he was on his 2nd contract. Debo.
Given who else we have on this team and the way we have seen them play after their 2nd contracts, absolutely, I think there's an argument for that. I have hope that Debo is a little bit different because he's very erudite.
We're going to talk about him in a minute. We're going to go through each guy. I want to ask you right now with Warner, would you trade him in the offseason?
After this year, I don't know what we would get versus if he had one more good year. But here's the thing. We have to move some big pieces in this offseason to recoup some of our 1st-rounders. Now, the argument that a lot of people make, which makes sense, is why would you trade proven assets for unproven draft picks?
It's true, because that's what the Niners did with Buckner.
Except, and Jason Aponte said this the best, and that is that they are backtracking to make up for bad draft picks. True. And that's the reality of where we are as San Francisco, that we are in the position of having to get a corner, having to address, now we have to address the defensive line of all places. We certainly have to address the secondary and the offensive line. So someone like Warner is going to have to go on the move. We may have to bundle players just to trade up into the 1st round. I'm not exactly sure what the 49ers are going to do, but they're going to have to move someone like Warner. I'm not happy with how Warner's playing this year.
Who's great, but you want to trade someone who's overrated, who's injury prone. You gotta make a tough decision here.
You know what Warner looks like? He looks like Armstead. That one huge year leading to a contract extension. I think the Niners are going to have to be reasonable, and I think that Warner is an excellent trade candidate, but I don't know what we would get for him.
True.
That's the issue.
He's going to get expensive. He's going to get very expensive, just like Armstead is.
So yes, I would move him, absolutely, because I feel like we are really good at training linebackers. I think Aziz Al-Shaair could clean up a lot of things in his game. I think when Dre Greenlaw comes back, there's depth at the linebacker position. And I think the Niners can go and draft someone in the 3rd or 4th round if they really want to get another Greenlaw.
It just hasn't been an impact player this year. And, the Niners are terrible against the run. How can you have the highest paid middle linebacker in the league, or the 2nd highest paid middle linebacker in the league, and be terrible against the run? I mean, where's the return on investment there? So
exactly.
Look you're not going to trade him this week, but I think he's definitely a trade candidate. And by the end of the season, this is something they got to be thinking about the rest of the season. What is the
basically the Niners are paying X amount of dollars to not stop their run, whereas other teams with less flashy names, with linebackers who are not flashy in either pass or run prevention, are basically getting more per dollar against the run. And so, that's definitely something that they have to get rid of him. I really feel that. And I don't think it will be as big a blow to this team as people think.